Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of 2025 of the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. I'm Ty Glenn. Hopefully, you guys are having a great day and Happy New Year. It is 2025. 2024 is in the books. Lots of hockey stuff to look forward to in 2025, which, speaking of which, I did put that video out on my TG Hockey channel yesterday. So if you didn't see the video, make sure you go ahead and check it out. So basically in this episode, we're not going to recap any NHL games, although there was some pretty good NHL games that came on yesterday, like the Avalanche's 6-5 overtime win against the Buffalo Sabres. It was a comeback win for the Avs. Devon Tage had the game-winning goal, and then we saw the Canucks beat the Kraken in the shootout, so we almost saw a comeback right there again for the Kraken yesterday because these two teams didn't meet too long ago. Of course, the Kraken had a 5-4 comeback win in Vancouver. And then we saw the Ducks take a 4-3 overtime win against the Jets. And the Red Wings scored late in the third period. Jonathan Berggren had the game-winning goal in that game to get Red Wings a 5-4 win. So we saw some crazy games in the NHL yesterday. Even Alex Ovechkin has scored. He's now 24 goals away from passing Marc-Andre Fleury. That did not make any sense at all. He's 24 goals away from passing Wayne Gretzky on the NHL's all-time goal scoring list. Sorry if I'm getting my words mixed up. Sometimes I tend to talk fast. If you listen to the podcast regularly, you will hear me talk fast and get my words mixed up. That was one I did right there. But we're not going to be recapping any NHL games on this episode for today. So we're just going to get right ahead into the World Junior quarterfinals. So there's 4 games on the slate for the World Juniors because obviously it's the quarterfinals. And we're going to start off with Team Sweden versus Team Latvia. So Team Sweden, they hold off against Latvia to advance to semifinals with a 3-2 win, and they will face Finland in the semifinals. And they actually outshot Latvia 50-13 in this game. So you could tell that Sweden really wanted it. I do feel bad for Latvia, though, because they had a Cinderella-type run in the World Juniors, like, for an example, upsetting Canada in the World Juniors. And then let's see, Eric Smateko, I think he led the World Juniors in scoring. So he has just been a beast in the World Juniors. So like I said, Latvia, they had a great team. I'm surprised they didn't beat Sweden, but they were trying to come back and win that game, but they didn't. And so Sweden got the dub. Of course, Sweden was in the gold medal game last year against Team USA, which Team USA beat them in their home country. So we'll see if Team Sweden can get back to the gold medals when they face Finland. For Team Sweden, David Edstrom, Anton Wahlberg, and Zeb Forsell all scored for Sweden, while Melker Dahlin made 11 saves on 13 shots faced in net. For Team Latvia, Eric Smateko scored the 2 goals for Team Latvia, and Linus Fjällbergs made 47 saves on 50 shots faced in net. So not a bad performance from Team Latvia. Like I said, despite them being eliminated, I really did like the team. This was an underdog team, a team that we didn't think would probably get this far in the World Juniors. So Latvia, despite getting eliminated, I felt like they had a great World Juniors, and hope to see them back and strong for next year in the World Juniors. All right, Team USA, Team Switzerland. So Team USA advances to semifinals with a 7-2 blowout win over Switzerland. So they will face Czechia in the semifinals, and they outshot Switzerland 31-19. Ryan Leonard and James Higgins each scored 2 goals in the win. Drink some water because I'm starting to lose my voice. So Ryan Leonard and James Higgins each scored 2 goals in the win for Team USA, and Z Bulliam had a goal and an assist for a 2-point night. Danny Nelson and Brandon Sabalda had the other goals for USA, while Hampton Kensky, hopefully I pronounced that name right, made 17 saves on 19 shots faced in net. So Trey Augustine was the backup goalie for that one. Usually he starts the games for Team USA, but Coach Dave Carl, who coaches at the University of Denver, he decides to go with Hampton Kensky in that one. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that name right. And for Team Switzerland, Andro Carli and Niels Ren scored for Team Switzerland, and Christian Kirch made 7 saves in net. He was pulled from this game. He allowed 3 goals on 10 shots faced the net, and Elijah Neuenschwaner made 17 saves in relief. So Team Switzerland is eliminated, and Team USA moves on to the semifinals. All right, now we're going to get into Team Finland and Team Slovakia. So Finland holds off Team Slovakia with a 5-3 win, and they advance to the semifinals. And they will, of course, like I mentioned, for Team Sweden, they will face them. Team Finland will face Team Sweden in the semifinals. And despite getting the dub over Team Slovakia, they were actually outshot 36-18 in this game. Jesse Nurmi had 2 goals and 1 assist for 3.9 for Team Finland, and Jesse Kissikin had a goal and assist for 2.9. Rasmus Kupalainen and Kasper Haltunen also scored for Finland, while Peter Rippinen made 33 saves on 36 shots faced in net. So Peter Rippinen, he was a beast in this tournament so far. He's been fantastic in the World Juniors. So that kind of explains why Team Finland is going on to semifinals because of the team and because Rippinen has just been sharp in net. For Team Slovakia, Dalibor Dvorsky and Juraj Karček, hopefully I pronounced that last name right, each had a goal and assist for 2.9. Robert Fedor also scored for Slovakia, and Alan Lendak made 2 saves. Of course, he was pulled in this game, allowed 3 goals on 5 shots faced the net, and he was replaced by Samuel Urban, who made 11 saves in relief. So Team Finland will face Team Sweden, and Team Slovakia is eliminated, so not in the World Juniors anymore. All right, now we're moving on to Team Czechia and Team Canada. So Adam Cheko scores the game-winning goal with 39 seconds remaining in the third period as Czechia wins 4-3 against Canada. So Canada has another heartbreaker in the World Juniors. The first one was against Latvia, where Eris Macheko has scored the shootout game-winning goal against Canada in the World Juniors. Probably one of the biggest upset in the World Juniors, and probably the biggest upset in hockey history. And now Canada has another heartbreaker to Team Czechia getting scored on with 39 seconds remaining in the third period. Adam Cheko also had an assist for 2.9, and so Team Czechia will play Team USA in the semifinals. Peter Sakura had a goal and assist for 2.9. Edward Sale and Jacob Stanso also scored for Team Czechia, while Michael Herbal made 29 saves on 32 shots faced the net. And for Team Canada, Tanner Howe, Porter Martin, and Bradley Nadeau scored for Canada, while Carter George made 22 saves on 26 shots faced the net. And Canada had outshot Czechia 32-26. But one thing I've seen from Canada in the World Juniors so far is they have been taking careless penalties, and penalties that didn't need to be taken. So that's one. So those are 2 reasons why they lost. In this game alone against Czechia, they had 55 penalty minutes. So they would not stay out of the box in the World Juniors. So that was like 2 things that I saw from Canada. And their first game, which was against Finland, I thought they were going to be the team like, hey, this is Canada. They're always going to have a stacked team. They had a 3-0 shutout win over Team Finland in their World Juniors opener. So I thought this was going to be the team to go all the way. But because of the careless penalties, because of a few turnovers that led to some goals in this game and probably the other games, they are not moving on to the semifinals. And as an American, I would have loved to see Team Canada move on to the semifinals. And they could have faced Team USA in the semifinals, or even the gold medal game. If that were to ever happen, I would love to see another USA-Canada rematch in the gold medal game. I thought that would be interesting, but Canada is eliminated. Team Czechia is moving on, so it will be Team Finland versus Team Sweden, Team USA versus Team Czechia in the semifinals. All right, now we're going to recap the 2025 NHL Winter Classic. So on January 1st, New Year's Day, I actually did do a 2-minute recap on this. And if you guys didn't see it, you might want to go check that out. But the Blues got the 6-2 dub over the Chicago Blackhawks in the Winter Classic, and they moved to 18, 17, and 4 this season. They're now 3-0 in Winter Classic games, 2-0 against the Blackhawks in general because they did beat the Blackhawks 4-1 in the 2017 NHL Winter Classic at Busch Stadium. And they beat the Blackhawks in 2025 NHL Winter Classic at Wrigley Field. And let's not forget about their 6-4 win against the Minnesota Wild at the 2022 NHL Winter Classic. Cam Fowler, he scored 2 goals in the win. He's the first NHL player to play his 1,000th career NHL game in the Winter Classic. No NHL player has done that before. Justin Falk, he had a goal and 2 assists in this game for a 3-point night. And Jordan Kyrou also scored in this game. He had 4 points in the Blues 6-4 win against the Wild in the 2022 NHL Winter Classic. 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points. So when it comes to these outdoor games, Jordan Kyrou is always going to light the lamp. He's always going to rack up points throughout every outdoor game. And Jordan Binnington, he had a good night. He made 28 saves in the win. And for the Blackhawks, Taylor Hall and Tyler Bertuzzi had the goals for Chicago. Peter Mrazek made 22 saves in the loss. And the Blackhawks now have lost 5 straight games, 0-5-0 Winter Classic games, 0-2-0 at Wrigley Field because, of course, they lost in 2009 to the Red Wings. My final score is 6-4. They're now 12-24-2 of the season. Key takeaways from the Blackhawks in this Winter Classic. We didn't see that much from the offense. So Taylor Hall, of course, got the power play goal to cut it 2-1. But after that, it was all St. Louis clicking on all cylinders just like that. And we didn't see that much from the Blackhawks offense. The defense, of course, this week, I did mention this before, as you guys may know, especially if you're a Blackhawks fan like myself. And these were the Blackhawks defensemen who played in the Winter Classic. Of course, Seth Jones, who I wish Kyle Davidson will just trade already. Connor Murphy, Noah Allen, Louis Crevier, Alex Vlasic, and TJ Brody, another defenseman that I wish Kyle Davidson would trade because he hasn't been doing well for the Blackhawks. And speaking of players who haven't been doing well, ever since Peter Mrazek and Seth Jones came back from injury, they have been doing their best. And I was listening to Locked On NHL podcast. I know one of the people on there has said that after the first period, they have just turned the TV off. Or maybe after the second period. I think they said after the first or second period, they turned the TV off. They didn't really watch the Winter Classic. And I feel like NHL didn't do a good job at marketing this Winter Classic, because usually Winter Classic games are played on January 1st. Of course, college football playoffs are going on, I think. I don't know. I'm not a football person. I hate football, so I don't watch it. But if the Bears win the Super Bowl, I'd probably tune in. But other than that, I don't like football, so I really don't know why they didn't schedule it on January 1st like they usually should. But according to what I heard, college football playoffs are going on, so they didn't probably want to compete with that because, of course, most people will probably watch college football than hockey. I hate to say it, but it's true. But other than that, I don't think the NHL did the best. And I think a post that I read was like the Winter Classic for this year at Wrigley Field had got low views when people were watching it. So it wasn't really the best Winter Classic, and probably not the best Winter Classic for me as a Blackhawks fan, because we got blown out in that game 6-2. I mean, that's crazy. Nobody really stepped up in that game. So that's probably the worst Winter Classic game that I ever seen. But the next 2 meetings between the Blackhawks and Blues will be in St. Louis. They're only meeting 3 times this season. Of course, the first was at the Winter Classic. The next 2 games that they'll be facing off against each other will be in St. Louis. And the Blackhawks will play the Canadiens Friday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. The Blues also play Friday at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. They'll be taking on the Ottawa Senators. Of course, the Senators are playing a back-to-back set because they were in Dallas yesterday and they lost 4-2 in that game. So they look to answer back with a win over the St. Louis Blues. And Blues look to get a win at home following their 6-2 win at the Winter Classic. All right, the New Year's Day matinee game between the Devils and Kings. So Darcy Kemper made 33 saves as the Kings won 3-0 against the Devils at home. They moved to 22-10-5 this season, and the Kings have been red hot at home of late. They won 8 straight games at home, and they're 13-2-1 at home this season. So when it comes to playing home games for LA, they are no strangers. I mean, they'll get it done just like that. Andre Lee scored his first NHL goal in the game, and it was certainly a beauty. I did see the highlights before, and Andre Lee, he had a spectacular first NHL goal. Quentin Byfield, Adrian Kempe also scored for LA. Mikey Anderson had 2 assists in the game. And ever since coming out of the Christmas break, LA has won 3 in a row. They're 11-2-2 in their last 15 games, so they have been really hot of late. I mean, they are continuing to light it on all cylinders. For the Devils side, Jake Allen made 21 saves in this game. So, of course, Jacob Markstrom has sat out for the Devils, and Jake Allen got the start. And the Devils have now lost 3 straight games in regulation for the first time this season. They are coming off of a 3-2 loss to the Ducks Tuesday. So, during that time, they were playing a back-to-back set. Of course, this game was on Wednesday, obviously. And the Devils are now 24-14-3 of the season, and they continue their California road trip in San Jose against the Sharks Saturday at 3 o'clock p.m. Central Time, while the Kings continue their 5-game homestand against the Lightning Saturday at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Now we're going to preview this Big Ten Frozen Conference Series. I'm trying to do my best at previewing these games because I don't really watch a lot of college hockey unless it's the Frozen Four. And, of course, if it's a Big Ten matchup like the games are going to be coming on today. So unless it's like a Big Ten college hockey matchup or the Frozen Four, I don't watch college hockey a lot unless it's one of those 2 things I just said. And these games will be played on January 3rd and January 4th at Wrigley Field. So just after the Winter Classic game, they'll have these Frozen Conference games at the Wrigley Field. Of course, 6 teams, 8 teams will be participating. Of course, 2 of those teams will be women's hockey teams, and 6 of those teams will be the men's hockey teams. And all these games will be streamed on the Big Ten Network. So on Friday, January 3rd, it will be Ohio State taking on Michigan at 4 o'clock p.m. Central Time, and then Penn State taking on Notre Dame at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. And then on Saturday, tomorrow, it will be the Ohio State women's hockey team versus the Wisconsin women's hockey team at 4:30 p.m. Central Time, followed by Wisconsin taking on Michigan at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. One takeaway from each team, of course, the Michigan Wolverines. They hope to continue their strong performance, and they have been to 3 consecutive Frozen Fours since 2022, and they look to build on for this season as well, get back to another Frozen Four. Ohio State Buckeyes, they're looking to rebound from previous losses to Michigan, including a close 4-2 game earlier this season. Excuse me, right there, another hiccup. For Penn State, they are seeking to improve their power play efficiency after a 4-1 loss to Notre Dame earlier this season. And speaking of Notre Dame, they are preparing to face Penn State in this, and they look to build off of their regular season success against them earlier in the season and their early starts to this season. Hopefully I'm getting this right because, like I said, I don't watch a lot of college hockey unless it's the Frozen Four or the a Big Ten college hockey matchup. For the Wisconsin Badgers, they are looking to showcase their skills against Michigan State in this outdoor games. Of course, I did watch that game yesterday with Wisconsin going up against Michigan State. That was a great game. The Spartans won by a final score of 4-3. So really did enjoy that game. Obviously, Big Ten college hockey matchups are always intriguing to see. And for the Michigan State Spartans, they are coming off of a strong season. They just came off of a 4-3 win yesterday against Wisconsin. Like I said, I did watch that game. And they're going to be facing that same team at Wrigley Field. For the women's hockey team, of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes, They have won national championships in recent years, and for the Wisconsin Badgers, they recently won their final face-off title in the WCHA against Ohio State with a 6-3 victory, which marks their 5th meeting last season and their 10th title that they have won. My thoughts on the Frozen Confines. This is the first time that I'm seeing a college hockey game being played outdoors. I have never seen a college hockey game being played outdoors, so I thought maybe this would be like a interesting atmosphere to have, and it's going to be at Wrigley Field, which of course Wrigley Field has been around for 110 years. Since 2025, it's been around for 111 years, so it's an iconic baseball stadium. Like I said, we had the Winter Classic there not too long ago on New Year's Eve. Blues with the 6-2 win, so I think this will be interesting, and I think every hockey fan should be tuned in to this event because, like I said, from my experience and from what I have seen in all my years of watching hockey, I have never seen a college hockey game being played outdoors. So I'm all into it, and I will be tuned into it today and tomorrow, making sure just to get a glimpse of it, of what it will be like for the first time. Obviously, this takes you back to when you were a kid, when you were playing hockey on your ODR, and you would dream of scoring the Stanley Cup winning goal, and all this stuff. Just having fun on the ODR. So, like I said, it's going to be an interesting event. Probably might have a lot of views than the Winter Classics, but we'll just have to see. All right, NHL bowl predictions for 2025. So, of course, I wanted to do this video for my TG Hockey channel. I might still do it for my TG Hockey channel, but I'm just going to give you guys my top 5 bowl predictions for 2025. One of them being the Edmonton Oilers will win the Stanley Cup. So the Edmonton Oilers, they have came so close to winning the Stanley Cup last season. But the Florida Panthers had won Game 7. They win the Stanley Cup. Sam Reinhart had the game-winning goal in that game. And I believe the Edmonton Oilers, and after coming also close to winning the Stanley Cup last season, and after getting to the Stanley Cup Finals, they had a Cinderella run to the Stanley Cup playoffs, I should say, and won to the Stanley Cup Final. I believe this team will pull off what the Florida Panthers did to them. Like Florida Panthers, they won the Stanley Cup Final 2023. They lost to the Golden Knights. They won the Stanley Cup a year later. I believe the Edmonton Oilers will do the same. They have a great forward group. And, of course, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl continuing to lead the way. They have great defensive pairs as well. And no doubt in mind that the Edmonton Oilers will win a Stanley Cup. And this kind of ties into what I was really going to say. A Canadian team will win the Stanley Cup this season. So either we will see, like I said, the Edmonton Oilers win the Stanley Cup, or maybe the Winnipeg Jets might win the Stanley Cup, because Winnipeg Jets, they have been on fire lately. They started off the season winning 15 of their 16 games, and they are a tremendous team to watch. And I believe that a Canadian team will win the Stanley Cup this season. Of course, the last Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup was the 1993 Montreal Canadiens. And I believe either the Jets or Oilers could get it done. I'm going to stick with the Oilers on this one. The Jets so far are first place in the league, and we all know the President's Trophy curse that's happened. So maybe the Jets probably might not do it, but we'll just have to see. But for my bold prediction, I'm going with Edmonton Oilers winning the Stanley Cup. Second bold prediction, Alex Ovechkin will break the goal scoring record. So, of course, Ovi is a goal scorer. We all know that. He's averaged over 40 goals per season throughout his career. He only needs 24 to break the goal record of Wayne Gretzky's. We saw him score last night on Marc-Andre Fleury, and so he will need 24 goals to break the record. And no doubt in mind, depending on if he stays healthy, that he'll break the record. My number 3 bold prediction, Blackhawks will win the 2025 NHL Draft Lottery. So the Blackhawks, of course, are last in the league. They are probably the worst team, one of the worst teams in the NHL besides the Predators and possibly the Sabres. And the Sharks, one of the worst teams in the NHL. Excuse me, hiccup right there. One of the worst teams in the NHL to watch. They are in a rebuilding phase. They could possibly trade some of their veteran key players, of course, make some room for the young talent on this team, in which, if they do, hopefully they could trade somebody like Craig Smith or Seth Jones or anybody else, because we're not really seeing that much from them. Of course, Craig Smith is returning from injury from the Blackhawks. And I believe the Blackhawks could win the draft lottery. They could draft James Higgins, first of all, to them in the 2025 NHL draft. So that's my bold prediction. Number 4, Utah Hockey Club will make the playoffs in their first NHL season. Of course, Utah Hockey Club is coming off of a 5-3 win over the Calgary Flames yesterday. And I have seen them have some great success in their first season. And I'm really happy to see them playing their first NHL season. Of course, I never thought an NHL team would come to Utah, but it's certainly working out well so far. Logan Cooley, Clayton Keller continuing to lead the way for Utah Hockey Club. And taking a look at the taking a look at the wild card spot for Utah Hockey Club, they are 4 points out of a playoff spot. Of course, Canucks had a 4-3 shootout win over the Kraken last night, and Utah Hockey Club is 4 points out of a playoff spot. So, and I believe that they'll make the playoffs in their first NHL season. So, yeah. All right, Golden Knights. They will win the Western Conference. That's my last bold prediction for this. So the Golden Knights, they have been on fire of late. They're first in the Pacific Division with a 26-93 record of the season with 55 points. And their roster has a lot of depth on all positions, on forward, defense. I know Ivan Barbashev is out with an injury for the Golden Knights. Their goaltending has been really good. And they have some playoff experience before. They won the Stanley Cup in 2023. And they went to the Stanley Cup Final in 2018, lost to the Capitals in 5 games. So they have some great depth on the team. They have a lot of playoff experience, and they have been red hot before and after the Christmas break. Of course, they're coming off of a 3-2 loss to the Canadiens for their last game. But I believe this will be a team that will win the Western Conference. Of course, last year the Canucks won the Western Conference, but I think this year it has to be the Golden Knights. All right, NHL games on the slate for today. So there are 5 games on the slate for today, and it starts with the Pittsburgh Penguins taking on the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. This will air on NHL Network, followed by the Montreal Canadiens taking on Chicago Blackhawks at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. So original 6 matchup, and the Canadiens are playing a back-to-back set. They'll be in Colorado, take on the Avalanche Saturday, and then St. Louis Blues will take on the Ottawa Senators at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. They're coming off of their 6-2 win over the Blackhawks at the Winter Classic, followed by Anaheim Ducks taking on the Edmonton Oilers at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Oilers are playing a back-to-back set. They'll be in Seattle tomorrow to take on the Kraken. And then last game of the night, Nashville Predators taking on the Vancouver Canucks at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And, of course, the World Junior semifinals are happening tomorrow. It will be Team Sweden taking on Team Finland at 2:30 p.m. Central Time, followed by Team USA taking on Team Czechia at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. And then Sunday is the third place game, 2:30 p.m. Central Time, and then the gold medal game will happen at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. So lots of hockey to look forward to this weekend with the World Juniors, and then some of the Hockey Night in Canada games that are going to be played this weekend. Of course, the Predators, they're playing a back-to-back set against 2 Canadian teams. Of course, they're going to be facing the Canucks today, like I mentioned, and then they'll be in Calgary tomorrow to take on the Flames. And there's some other Hockey Night in Canada games that are coming on tomorrow. Bruins and Maple Leafs at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time, Original 6, and a rivalry that everybody loves to see. And then, like I mentioned, Predators will face the Flames. Oilers will face the Kraken. And then we got a 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time game between the Red Wings and Jets. Of course, the Red Wings and Jets both played yesterday. Jets lost 4-3 in overtime to the Ducks. Red Wings had a 5-4 win over the Blue Jackets. and the Canadiens will play the Avalanche. The Avalanche had a 6-5 comeback win in overtime yesterday against the Buffalo Sabres. And of course, Canadiens are playing a back-to-back set. All right, guys, so that is going to do it for this episode and the first episode of 2025. So thank you guys for tuning in. As always, really do appreciate it. There's going to be a video coming out Sunday on possible 2026 NHL Winter Classic matchups that I would like to see. That video will come out Sunday on the TG Hockey channel, so make sure you guys tune in. I did put out a video yesterday on the top 5 hockey events to look forward to in 2025, so make sure you go check that out if you have not already. And hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. God first as always. Be blessed. Happy New Year, and I'll see you guys Monday for another episode of the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. Take care.